Clear the record, something that the chairman of the redistricting committee said, and that is that we had ample opportunity to present our map. The reality is that you put an artificial timetable on how we had to move through this process. The reality is that it is not up to the Georgia House Democratic Caucus to print maps to get the map coincided with an LC number. It is up to Leg Council and the reapportionment office. That did not happen. I think you did it in good faith. I think the Republicans did it in good faith. But if you just extended the time just a little bit more, we could have made it work. Where we had an opportunity to present our map, which we believe is the best map for Georgia at this particular time, that it's equal and that it's just. But that did not happen. What is the rush to judgment? A couple of years ago, I remember sharing with you that although Abraham Lincoln was not necessarily my favorite president, there are notable quotes that speak to the heart of democracy. One being, stand with anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. My dear colleagues, I stand once again to say the Democratic caucus must part ways with our Republican colleagues as you wield your majority power to push through what we believe to be an illegal map in order to maintain power at the expense of our fellow Georgians. Today, as a leader of the Democratic caucus, I stand before you not merely in political capacity, but as a custodian of a legacy that is steeped in a struggle for equality and justice. We're gathered here to deliberate on a matter of immense significance: the redrawing of our state's legislative House districts. Now, this historic moment that we find ourselves in right now is an opportunity to right historical wrongs and to pave the way for a future that honors the diverse voices of our great state, an opportunity to remedy some of the wrongs that have been particularly directed toward our African American electorate, those who have been historically disenfranchised, stalled from having equal access and opportunity to vote and select their candidate of their choice, and are justly targeted by placing barriers and stumbling blocks in their way. Listen, over the past decade, there has been a great migration. If y'all have not realized this, there's been a great migration back to Georgia, a migration of black folk who came from the Northeast back to God's country, Georgia. There's also been a migration of people of different nations, colors, and creeds who have come to Georgia because they seek a better opportunity. And the reality is, in that opportunity, they move into districts that potentially they wouldn't have moved into 100 years ago. But they have. And they moved into these districts and they need representation. That's what the judge ordered. That this group of folk who moved and migrated around the state of Georgia should have representation. And the Republican map decided we'll skirt around it just a little bit to protect potentially some of our members. I'm going to say a quote by Dr. King, and I think now is appropriate to say this as I continue to deliver my speech, but I can hear him saying to America, and I'll say to the Republicans in this caucus, in this house, our house today, you're too arrogant. And unless you change your ways, God will rise up and break the backbone of your power and place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know God's name. Be still and know that God is God. Georgia's history, while rich and multifaceted, bears the scars of past marred by racial injustice, particularly in the realm of voting rights. The disenfranchisement of black voters through mechanisms such as poll taxes, literacy tests, and the white primary was just a denial of rights. It was not just a denial of rights, but a denial of dignity. It is in this context that, again, Dr. King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. This matters. As my learned attorneys will say, reasonable minds can disagree, but this is the judge's order. We ought to comply. We should have 5 additional black districts where black folk can vote. Now, y'all have heard this, that, oh, the Democrats created 4 districts. It's foolishness. We created 5. We created 5, according to the judge's order. And to my attorney colleagues, the reference would be Bartlett versus Strickland as precedent, case law, that talks about plurality districts. We did that. We can keep going further, Cooper versus Harris. There's a whole litany of case law that said what we created was a 5th district. So please, please, guys, start with the foolishness. In fact, our districts are almost carbon copies of the district that Judge Jones approved in his order. District 145 is a new majority-minority district located in Bibb and Houston counties. That is a carbon copy of the district that Judge Jones approved. We didn't move a block, not one block. District 149 is a new majority-minority district in Bibb in the Black Belt. Now, if y'all don't know what the Black Belt is, it's where slaves, that's the culmination of where slaves were. The Black Belt is where I live. Macon, Bibb, Twiggs, Wilkinson County, Baldwin counties, that only deviates a few census blocks from the districts that Judge Jones approved. Those folk, we need representation. 100 years is enough. And why did we move those few census blocks? Here's why we moved them. To protect our Republican colleague who represents Milledgeville, who would have otherwise been put in that new Democratic-leaning district. District 117 is a new majority-minority district in Henry County that also is a carbon copy of the majority-minority district that Judge Jones approved. District 61 in our map is a new majority-minority district in Douglas and Cobb counties that is also carbon copy of what Judge Jones approved. And finally, District 74 is a new majority-minority district in Henry and Spalding counties that satisfies Judge Jones's order for a 5th new opportunity district in that area. I want to pause for a second because that district, there would be one Republican member who would be sacrificed in that district, potentially. But we don't know what that district would vote for because through this political gerrymandering, y'all moved it so that white Republicans could vote for that member. This great migration, I've learned one thing and one thing only. If you can move where you want to move, you move. But we should not be moving people at all to satisfy the need of a representative. If you don't like where you live, move. Simple. If you don't like the district that you're representing right now, move. And let somebody who represents that district step in. It should not be on us to make the people go with us. We should represent the people where we are. And that district, that one district, the sacrifice of that one person is going to put us all in jeopardy because of the ripple effect that you did to the rest of the members in this house. And the judge, a special master, has to draw a map because of the ripple effect that you created trying to protect one, you sacrificed the whole. Now, when the special master decides to draw this map, which we believe will happen, because not only did you not comply with his order, you broke the law. You broke the law. Because coalition, majority, minority districts are protected. And it's gone on for 20 years or so. It's protected. So you can't say we complied and break the law. It's not how America works. It's certainly not how Georgia works, and it's certainly not what Judge Jones ordered. What I would say to you in conclusion is this. The civil rights movement, which found fertile ground in the heart of Georgia, was a testament to the unyielding spirit of those who fought for justice. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 emerged from this struggle. It was a beacon of hope. The task of redrawing our maps, we must do so with an acute awareness of our past and a resolute commitment to equitable and a just future. To my colleagues, I echo the words of President Lyndon B. Johnson. The vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by man for breaking down injustice. We have decisions to make now. I won't tarry because I know y'all are under a time crunch. But this is the time to do what's right, to contemplate the reality of where we go from here as a state of Georgia, the #1 state to do business unless you're poor and you get sick. But we'll deal with that next week. This is our time to say to Georgia, to be resolute in this moment, to say we hear you. And if we want to represent you, then we stand firm on the ideals and principles of Georgia and justice, equality, and fairness. To my Republican colleagues, you have a few moments. Please don't violate the trust of the Georgians who moved here looking for a better opportunity because you wish to protect one member. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.